Because everything revolves around this experience. This is where all my energy is going. It could be an illness. It could be lack and limitation. If money's not flowing, then I'm not happy. Okay, but I'll come back to that. Here's another one. My mental attention focuses on solving your problems or relieving your pain. My self-esteem is bolstered by solving your problems and relieving your pain. That's how I feel good about me. You know, I think, when you hear it, again, it may not sound like such a, it may not be totally off, but think about it. You know, one of the best lessons I ever learned in life is the lesson that I call the airplane lesson. And everybody's had the airplane lesson. You know, you get on the airplane and you get seated. They get ready to take off. The flight attendant stands there. She tells you to put your seatbelt on. She shows you where the exit rows are, right? Okay. And then where the flotation devices are. And then she says, now in the event that the cabin should suddenly lose pressure, the oxygen mask will deploy. And then what does she say? Put the mask on yourself first. I don't think anybody has ever come in for treatment with me where they didn't hear that line. I say that to every single person that walks into that room for treatment. Put the mask on yourself first. And what is it that they're saying? They're saying that you cannot help another person, whether they're sitting in front of you, next to you, behind you, or anywhere else, until you first helped yourself. Now, this is a great lesson, a life-saving lesson for an airplane, but it's also a great life-saving lesson in your personal life. Until we take care of ourselves, we cannot take care of somebody else. You know, before I come to church in the morning, I have done my treatment. Before I come to church in the morning, I have done my meditation. Before I walk out of the door, I have done my work. I don't leave home without it. And why is that? Because I have to take care of me before I can help anybody else. My cup is full when I walk in here. You can ask me for anything. I've got it to give because my cup is full and is running over. Because I've taken care of what I needed to take care of. That's the airplane lesson. I put the mask on myself first. Okay? So I'm doing this talk this morning because it's really important for us to begin to recognize that codependence runs a lot deeper than we ever thought it did. See, it runs throughout our life. If we're not careful, we can easily find ourselves in codependent experiences. And the interesting thing about codependent experiences is that we often think it's the other person. It's them. They're the problem. You know, if they would just do what they were supposed to do, we wouldn't be having this problem right now, see? Or we see the condition of the problem. If money was flowing, I wouldn't have this problem. But see, there's something in it that we haven't recognized yet, and that is our participation in the problem. We haven't realized that I'm participating in this. This is happening, but it's in my life because I'm participating in it. We're financing that problem and keeping that problem alive with our energy. That's how it's staying alive, with our energy. And we're also receiving the payoffs and the gifts of the problem, even though they probably don't feel much like gifts. But it's the universe's way of saying, Dar, If you put your energy into this, then this is what you're going to get. That's all. Nothing more than that. If you finance this, then that's what comes out of it. Nothing more. So that's codependent relationship behavior at an even deeper level than maybe we knew about it before. But you know me, I want to go even deeper. There's a deeper way of looking at it. See, because everything that I've been talking about kind of sounds like a psychological issue. And you know, I don't teach psychology. I teach principle. And I teach consciousness, all right? So what I want to do is I want to eliminate the people in the experiences that we're moving through. I want to eliminate the personalities in the experiences that we're moving through and replace them with qualities. Okay? Dr. Holmes told us that we become hypnotized by the people and the conditions. He said, and some of us are hypnotized from the cradle to the grave. See, because as soon as somebody enters the picture, then we can blame that person. As soon as something enters the picture, then we can blame that thing. But what if we remove the person? What if we remove the thing, and the only thing we're dealing with in terms of codependency is consciousness, which is what it is to begin with. It is a consciousness issue. Our class curriculum said we often associate codependent behavior with relationships, but at some point we realize that all of life is relationship. And so when I start talking about qualities, I'm talking about our understanding of our relationship with certain qualities in our life. I'm talking about our relationship with certain beliefs that we have and how we feel related to those things. So it is relationship. Relationship to joy. Relationship to lack. Relationship to love. Relationship to pain. Not a person, a quality. So the key word I want to address this morning is the one Dan addressed when I walked in the door, enabling. Look at that word of enabling. You often hear me say things like the only things that happen in our life are the things that can happen. If we didn't believe in them, they couldn't happen. Things happen in our lives because they can. And the reason that they can is because we believe in them. And if we're believing in them, we're enabling them. The person's not the problem. The condition that I'm going through, that's not the problem. The only thing here that needs to change is my belief. There's something in my world right now. If I don't like it, there's something in my world that I'm cooperating with right now. There's something in my world that I am enabling right now through my belief. Dr. Ernest Holmes and Raymond Charles Barker, you know, when I first came into this teaching, I would read their stuff. And I remember Ernest Holmes and Barker saying, they kept stressing the point that there was no universal law that supports lack and limitation. No universal law, listen to this now, no universal law that supports sickness or any of the other infirmities that we come up with in our life. No universal law that supports that. And then, you know, I had to work with that for a while to understand, well, that's great to hear, but what does that mean? What does that mean in my life? And finally, I realized that what they were saying was that prosperity, health, and love and joy are self-reliant attributes. Now, what does self-reliant mean? They can stand on their own. They don't need to be energized. They don't need to be created. They can stand on their own. So let's go through them. Love, light, power, peace, joy, prosperity, freedom, health, wholeness, wisdom, harmony. All of these can stand on their own. They don't need to be created. They don't need to be energized. They are self-reliant. Now let's go back. So the fact that there is no universal law then to support lack, sickness, fear, sadness, hatred, pain, we can go on forever, couldn't we? Then these qualities cannot exist on their own. You know where I'm going, don't you? Yeah, they cannot exist on their own. So here's the difference between a self-reliant attribute and a codependent quality. When we turn away from a self-reliant attribute, like the prodigal son, when he turned away from the father, when we turn away from a self-reliant attribute, that attribute remains intact. It doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't leave us. It doesn't forsake us. But when we turn away from a codependent quality, it goes back into the nothingness from whence it came. When I no longer support that quality, it has nothing to stand on. That's what Ernest Holmes was telling us. That's what Raymond Charles Barker was telling us when they kept saying there's no universal law to support lack and limitation. There's no universal law to support illness. There's no universal law to support that pain and that hatred and all those things that we have come up with in our lives. And that if we withdraw our energy from them, they have nothing on which to stand and nothing to sustain them. So here's what codependence looks like when we deal with it at the level of consciousness. Listen to this. Lack is dependent on us in order for it to exist, because it cannot exist on its own. And yet, we're dependent on lack for as long as we define ourselves as lacking. Codependent. That's the payoff. Yeah, it is good, isn't it? I know. That's the payoff. And that's what we call codependency. We're dependent on it, and it's dependent on us. Okay, now let's take it to the next step. But here's the message. Lack and limitation is a codependent quality. Prosperity is self-reliant, which means it's always here, even if we've turned away from it, like the prodigal son. You know, they say he went to the far country. Well, what's the far country? It just means he just did this. He just turned. He turned and started looking at something else. But what happened? He turned back. He turned back. So prosperity is self-reliant. Prosperity was right where he was when he turned back. It said, and his father rushed to him. It wasn't missing. All right, so prosperity is self-reliant. So a codependent quality cannot exist without an enabler. Without your energy, it cannot stand on its own. Oh, this is so good. Do you hear it? I know, that's what I'm talking about. It can't stand on its own. Okay, so when you withdraw your energy from it, from that lack and limitation, you are codependent no more. Sickness is a codependent quality. Health and wholeness Health and wholeness is self-reliant. It's and it's omnipresent. It's always here. It doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't leave us. We turn away, but it's still here. But a codependent quality cannot exist without an enabler. Sickness cannot exist without an enabler. Without your energy, it cannot stand on its own. So with you, when you withdraw your energy from it, from sickness, when you no longer define yourself in that way, you are codependent no more. Yeah. Yeah. In this, oh, okay, all right, okay. And the same thing with hatred, sorrow, all this stuff that we've come up with. That's what Ernest Holmes was telling us. There is no universal law to support it, so unless you're supporting it, it cannot be in your life. Withdraw your energy from it, and it goes back into the nothingness from whence it came. That's how it works. So you might be saying, but Dar, you know, I've been doing this other stuff all my life. Like that person who sent me that email. But she's been doing it all her life. But there's never a moment, every moment of every day, we can wake up. We can wake up. But I don't know how to do that. I know how to do what I've been doing. I don't know how that works. You know, there's a commercial. You know, I had to get one commercial in before I go. But there's this wonderful commercial today that's on TV, and it's with Jennifer Hudson. And she's doing a Weight Watchers commercial. And she's standing there, and she's hearing all these monkey mind voices. They say, what if I can't do this? What if I fail? What if this doesn't work? Then all the voices start coming together. You know how monkey mind does, that chatter? And then she says, shh. There's only one voice that you should be listening to right now. And that's the voice that's telling you that you can. There's only one voice that we should all be listening to right now, even if we have never listened to it before, even if we have gone through our whole life in codependent situations. But that's the voice that's telling us that we can. You can do this. You can let that go. You can let that fall away and just dissolve into the nothingness from whence it came. And when the good that you desire becomes believable, just letting that go and just letting something good, something other than that start coming through. Letting that good start coming through your being. And when that good that you desire becomes believable, the good that you desire becomes available. And you are codependent no more. Let it be your way. Thank you for being here this morning, and so it is. Thank you. Thank you, guys.